Good morning. Welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz, LoveTalk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. I got my neighbors in the house this morning. Good morning, Newhallville. Nice to see y'all.
Good morning.
So
Morning,
this
good
is
morning.
this is Newhallville Community Service Development Corporation. Linda Davis Cannon, Sophie Kaplan, Chanel Golson, and Jeanette Sykes. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
All right, so y'all got some good stuff coming up. I've seen the flyers all over the place. I love Newhallville Symposium. Now, if that's not saying nothing, I don't know what is. That's pretty damn good. So tell me what's going on.
So we are so excited about launching this I Love Newhallville, What's Your Investment? Because we know that everyone here has dedicated their time, talent for years. And so what best to open up our conference, our symposium by saying, we know we love Newhallville, and we know our residents and our neighbors love Newhallville as well. And so we want to know what's the next step, what's the new investment for each of our neighbors. They have talked to us about different things and recommendations that they would like to see in Newhallville. We had a big manifestation of over 100 people that showed up at one of our community meetings, and we took all of that information and we're using it. We had a strategy meeting and we came up with some of the same similarity of things. So this is our first launch, and we're going to be featuring some of the things that they have mentioned that they want to see, hear, and know what's being done with the corporation.
I love it. So this is Saturday, June 29th from 10 to 2, and it's going to be at Albertus Magnus College, which is right here in our neighborhood, right? Like it's right there. And you've got some talk about these priorities. Like these are affordable housing, jobs, increased access to educational, recreational, family support. I mean, you have a whole list of priorities, which I imagine all y'all that these are the city's priorities too. And if they're not, they should be.
Absolutely. Anybody want to?
Sophie,
Uh-huh.
what did you notice when because you're fairly new to this community?
Yes. Yes. So I am pretty new to the community, moved here about 2 years ago and was just immediately welcomed by everyone. And it's been really fantastic. And I think only like 3 months into me living here, I got a call from Jeanette about this board, and I was just happy to join. So it's been really fantastic. And I think something that's been clear throughout is that we do have a ton of priorities and a ton of things that we want to do. And I really value how we're trying to do those with each event we're doing. And with this one, we're asking people, hey, what's your investment? Because each of our neighbors have something to bring to the table, as well as these resources. And let's kind of tackle all these things.
Mm-hmm. So Linda and Chanel, these priorities, I mean, did you capture all the priorities that you wanted? And are there some more a bigger priority than others?
Well, I would say, one, to kind of double back about our initial priorities. Jeanette spoke about it a little bit in the introduction, where these are all came from the community. So we are all on one page with the community trying to make these things happen. And so with these priorities, there are other things inside of those priorities. So say when it comes to affordable housing, okay, what's affordable? And then what do I do when I'm in a rental unit? So there are other things you have to tackle in each area. So even with economic development, it's pretty broad. So how are you tackling those items? So with the symposium, we're trying to kind of break down some of those priorities. So with housing, we're having a table that's going to talk a little bit about how do you become a homeowner. Even when you become a homeowner, how do you prevent foreclosures? Because if you notice, our community is facing a lot of foreclosures with taxes and whatnot. So how do you prevent that from occurring? And then even for our renters, well, what do you do when you're living in a house that's not safe? So what do you do? So a lot of people just assume, oh, I stopped paying rent, and then they find themselves being evicted. So that's not actually the right process. So we'll have, the information there to have those resources. So our priorities, they seem, pretty broad. A lot of people get that, but we're tackling them. We're creating actionable items.
Linda, you got to unmute yourself so you can jump in.
All right, sorry. So again, ditto what Chanel just said, because my expertise is housing, and just focusing on that quality of life issues in our neighborhood, and to just give them information that people are not aware of, and that we want everyone to be able to live in a beautiful home, and healthy home, and that helps their children with their education piece. So when you have a nice, safe home, the kids feel better about themselves, and they're able to go to school and study better because they have a safe home to go back to. So that's one of our focuses also. It's just making that quality of life issue be a priority, a number one priority, to bring that back into our community.
And so how long have y'all been working on creating this symposium? And Jeanette, talk to me about re-energizing this community, because I feel like Newhallville is very vibrant, but it's also had its fair share, unusual amount of trauma and violence and all of that. And I get the sense that people might be a little weary of like having another meeting and just trying to push forward. How do you energize or re-energize the community to sort of come to the symposium and work on these community issues?
I think, we did a reflection back, and most of us had grew up here. So we've seen the good times, and we also seen the times when it was transitioned into some struggling and challenging times as well. So we realized when Newhallville was high end and home ownership, and everybody knew their neighbors, we understand and reflect back on that as well. So I think we do have to give them a sense of, we hear you, your voice still matters. And I think when we had the last movement, I think when we started going out and start knocking on doors and having conversation with everyone, a lot of people said, nothing's going to happen. And then something happened. And then people started to listen. And then things happen. And everybody was like, wow, well, maybe things can happen. We said, yes, voting is very important. Your vote matters. That one vote could bring the right person or the wrong person in. So we talk about all those particulars, but we have a lot of people that's doing some of the work in the community. So we're not trying to reinvent a wheel that's already there. We just trying to energize it and giving it more strength, and also bring more people to the table. And I think this is a different day for Newhallville, because I think people understand that they have to be at the table now. And I said to them all the time is that we never worry about who's at the table. We worry about just bringing our own chair, and we make our own table, because we know what we want in our community. And if we don't stay there and we don't have the conversation with the city or with any other developers or anyone that's coming into our neighborhood or any entity, then they're going to bring what they think we should have. But they don't live here. They haven't been through the ups and downs and the challenges, or understanding that housing is a struggle, and tenants getting kicked out of their homes and don't understand how to go. Elderly don't know how to manifest to be, the things that they need to do, just day-to-day stuff in their community because they're older. We understand all this about our youth, and they need training and jobs and so forth. All of that is there. So we're going to be collaborating with already the existing programs and nonprofits that's out there that's working hard for Newhallville. And that's why we said, what's your investment? What's your investment for Newhallville? You can have things all over, but is it for Newhallville? Because that's what this is, Newhallville Community Services with an S. Chanel always remind us that it is an S at the end of it, because it's so important that we understand that there is many services that we have to provide and we have to give information to. And we want to be the go-to. Okay, if you call us, we know who you should go to get services. No one in our community should not know what the legs and the arms are that goes in our community, and the information and the support. Every other community has it, and we should have it as well.
So Chanel, tell me what keeps you rooted here? Like, what is it about Newhallville that keeps you rooted here?
Oh, okay. So, I just love Newhall. I've always loved Newhallville. For me, it was growing up. I had such fond memories of Newhallville. So no matter where I went in the world, I always came back home. And so, when it came time for me, I became an adult, and it was time to purchase my own home. I was going out looking at houses, and I said, okay, I'm still going to look in Newhallville. And so many people are like, "Oh, you're crazy. Why are you going to do that?" And I'm like, for personal reasons, and I believe in the community and reinvesting, revitalizing the community. So when I was looking around, I went back to a block I grew up on, Star Street, and I just saw the neighbors were so helpful. They were out cleaning up the trash. They were talking to each other. They were, greeted me, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is the house. So it's that neighborhood connection that brought me back. And I think Linda always talks about that connection with relationship building. And it's more than just a neighborhood, but we care about each other as neighbors. So it's just in our deep ties, our families have grew up here. Our, kids, you raise kids here. So it's all about tying back to those relationships.
Mm-hmm. So Linda, how do you make relationships with the ever-changing neighborhood? Now we've got apartments built on the edge of Newhallville that's massive, and that's gonna create more traffic for our community. It's gonna, it changes the dynamic of the community a bit. How do we continue to build upon the history of Newhallville when Newhallville is ever changing?
So again, from my previous job working for the city of New Haven in Livable City Initiative, that was really our main focus was to go out and build relationships with the community. So, and which is something that I really truly love doing, and that's how I get to meet everyone. And what we have to do is we all have to just make sure that we touch every street in our community, and know who lives on that street, and to see what is their needs, or what they would like to see happen on their street, and how we all can become neighborly, because the main focus is to be a good neighbor. And so that's what we focused on as I was working in LCI, is building good neighbors. And so we would like to continue that with all our new neighbors that have come and don't know of the history of Newhallville. Because again, I didn't grow up in Newhallville, but I had family that lived in Newhallville. And I remember always going there, and you could sit out on your porch, but you knew everyone that lived across the street or side by side to you. And you all, played together, chit chat. If we was out of order, we knew that Mrs. Jones was going to, make sure straighten us out, because she was going to tell our mothers. So I enjoyed all of that while I was visiting Newhallville. And I also remember that the majority of the people who lived in Newhallville owned their homes, and because a lot of them worked at Winchester. So that was an area where they can walk to work and be able to be home to spend time with their families. So I would love to bring that back. You know what I mean? Because we need that in our community, because kids don't know who's who. Because even as I was working as we created a program called the Youth Ambassadors in Newhallville, and getting to know those kids the past 3 years that I did the program. They didn't know, even though they went to school, but they didn't know these kids that lived in their neighborhood, because everyone, this generation now, everyone gets a ride to school. They don't even know how to take the school bus. But I made sure that they took that school bus. I made sure that we walked and touched every street in Newhallville. So people, while we were walking down the street, people saw them. And we need that, because now in Newhallville, I have noticed there's a lot of foot traffic. So when you have foot traffic, you need to know who these people are, and they need to know who lives on these streets. So that's what I would like to work on, is building those relationships and collaborating with the city and other partners that we have that do bring their resources to our community or services to our community. So just collaborating in partnership with everyone to make our neighborhood livable and striving again.
I love it. So Sophie, you're new to the neighborhood, 2 years in.
Yep.
And you could have taken your little mortgage money anywhere. and you move into one of the blackest neighborhoods in the city. and what is it like? I mean, did you have fears about that? Were you concerned? Did it cross your mind like maybe this is not a good idea? Like what were you thinking? And then where are you now that you are totally ingrained in the community? Like you are partnering and being and being a good neighbor. Talk a little bit about your journey.
Of course. Yeah. So my journey actually started with you, Babz, because I would show you houses and you either give me the green light or the red light. And you green lighted this house. And I really loved this house too before even coming here. And I remember calling a friend because everyone else, like even my dad or friends, were like, are you sure you want to do this? Like bringing up the neighborhood and like where I'm from and just the differences. And I remember calling a friend being like, should I be worried? I don't know. So anyway, I wasn't really as worried. I think everyone around me was a little worried, kind of like what Chanel was saying when she was thinking of buying her first house in the neighborhood and people were like, are you sure? Anyway, I'm really so glad I did because I've experienced, we talk so much about the growth and connection we want to see with our neighbors. But to be honest, I already see like a really great amount of connection. And I so thoroughly enjoy it because I'm coming from suburbia where it's really isolated and nobody really cares because we all have our own space and it just doesn't matter what happens to the next person. But here, really from day one, I've noticed a strong sense of connection. Like one time I was even walking around in my yard, I had my hood up, you couldn't really see who I was. And my neighbor came out and was like, hey, what are you doing here? Because it didn't look like Sophie walking around in the yard. And I was like, Don, it's just me. But I really appreciate things like that. And people just noticing things. And like there's a group of guys that are usually hanging out kind of to my parking lot to the left. And I love it because I always know they're always there. And it kind of feels like they're always watching out for me. I'm sure they're doing a lot of other things, but I feel like I'm at least a little thought in their mind, like, oh yeah, that girl right there. So yeah, I love it. And I'm so glad Babz gave me the green light.
So Jeanette, listen, you and I, we've been in these social justice streets for a very long time. How do we turn this over to young people? How do we mentor them up? How do we engage them to take the mantle? How do we get them involved to care deeply about this community?
I think this is the first beginning because, we're going to be passing over time. I know I am. I keep telling everybody, I see the palm tree. I see a palm tree. I'm going to be sitting underneath, and I laugh about it. But, that shows me and tell me that this is not what I'm going to stay in. I'm just trying to do a foundation. What is the legacy that we're going to leave for the next generation? And that's why you see Chanel and Sophie, and we have other younger ones on our panel and our group as well. And we're bringing in more people because we understand that this is an intergenerational connection. And if you don't show them what to do when we leave, it drops, it falls. But they can pick up the mantle, at any given time. If I wasn't able to come on this call today, they would have been able to carry it. So that's what we're looking to do, making sure that everybody's trained, understand why it is important to have this investment. And you're right about there's so much dynamics coming into our Newhallville and so forth. But we have to let them know that what the history. This is a historical community that has been around for a long period of time, and we don't want anyone not to understand that. So when I talk to people, I make sure that they understand what the history was. Not that we have to stay there, but we have to respect what the history so that we can continue to move forward. So you'll see a lot of change. You know me, I'm always working with young people as well. So I believe that is the way that they understand how important and value Newhallville is. That's why we said, what's your investment? It's all ages. Everybody should be, from seniors to nonprofits to youth, should be investing, should be understanding that I need to put my time into Newhallville to keep the legacy going.
So you have this symposium coming up. I love Newhallville, which I love, which you're doing on the 29th. And you're going to be from 10 to 2. And I'm sure you're gonna have all the things. There'll be food, there'll be coffee, there'll be,
All the good
conversations and
stuff.
rich conversation, all the things. And then what happens?
So then we have different groups that's coming in. We have topics, different topics like housing development. Some of our members are hosting that table, and Chanel and Linda can talk about that. And we have economic development. We also have Yale Pathology group that's coming in to give us some free screening. We have Yale New Haven Hospital coming in for the early detection. But we want preventive. We have a lot of statistics about our community, but I always say, you give me the paperwork, you tell me what's happened in our community, but no one talks about the preventive measurement. So that's what we're doing. We've taken all of these data that's been conducted on Newhallville, and then we're saying, okay, now this is what we need to do. If we need emergency care, that a walk-in clinic that we can have, then that's what we need. If you're saying that we have a lot of health disparities, then why don't we have something right here in the community that's very easy for anyone to have access to it? Or we're talking about a bank. Why can't we have a branch right here in our community? We have, a large, Newhallville is very large and it's getting even larger. So we have that. We are talking about safety as well. We want to make sure our community is safe, not just with the crime, because we are bringing one of our own. We call her our own Assistant Chief Cologne. She's coming back to host us for us. And she's going to be talking about a lot of what the homes look like, what you can do in your home, what can you do outside, what about lighting, what they can do, what they can't share with us that they are doing, because I truly believe that they have a plan for Newhallville as well. As we talk and go to meetings, if there's a meeting, I'm usually there, or someone on our teams is there taking notes. So we are very aware of what's happening in our community. We also have beautification. I know Chanel mentioned about when she was looking for her first home. I think she worked with neighborhood housing. They are actually going to be at the table with us. They're actually going to be giving out prizes as well, because we know that they've been doing the housing for over 20 plus years. So why not tap in and collaborate with them to get information, and also to move ourselves into the housing industry that we need to do. And then we have the UI is going to be there as well. And then we want to make sure that our kids, as far as financial, we have a person coming. I'm so excited that she committed to around finance, around scholarship. So she's going to show these kids how to get online and apply for all of these scholarships that's out here that most kids are not even applying for, and it goes back every year. So I talked to her for years about coming into Newhallville to make sure that our kids get it, and she's going to be at the table. So I want to make sure that parents are there, the youth are going to be there, and then she's going to be doing free sessions for them, individual sessions, so she can get everybody set up. This is the investment. We have the baby bond coming in to talk about that, because we don't want to miss any money. And we told them we're at the table. Let us know when the next steps are coming in, because it's fairly new. If this money is going to be existing for our residents, then we want to make sure that they have to do training, or if they have to go online and fill out something saying that they're still here, or if they move into another community, or what's that commitment. So they're going to be there to talk to us, and then we'll be walking through a lot. So as you can see, there is a lot that we are still working on.
I love it. So you all came off, you just come off the great success of stopping the App Foundation from opening their drug rehabilitation kind of center.
Yes.
And you did that in collaboration with the Hampton side of Newhallville. Does that relationship with Hampton continue as you are thinking about Newhallville across, all of Newhallville? Do you do you invite them to the table too? Are they still interested in being a part of what happens to Newhallville proper? Talk a little bit about that relationship and that collaboration.
So, when you have been connected with someone for like 2.5 years, because it took 2.5 years for the app, you become family, and so South Hampden is definitely family to us. And I've been on the phone this morning with a couple of the people as well. And also just to let everybody know that the Newhallville Hampden Strong is still in existence. We haven't gone anywhere. We're still meeting, we're still working together, because now our goal is to make sure that the 794 Dixwell Avenue building is still valuable to the community. And what was recommended when they did the presentation is what we want continue to happen. And so far it's happening. And when they finish doing all the work, we're going to go into the building. Actually, we're meeting with them next month in July, so that they can give us an update. So it is still the collaboration. So we send flyers to them. This is like a real connection. That's why we use Alberta Magnus so much, because it's right on that cuff of South Hampden and also Newhallville. So yes, we are still partnering with Hampden as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because what happens in Newhallville happens in all of Newhallville. And
absolutely,
there's no, whatever they imagine that invisible line is, it doesn't exist. You have to, what happens on the south end side of Hampden is important to what happens in the New Haven side of Newhallville. So, all right. So you have the symposium. What are y'all doing to raise some money? Because I know you got to raise some money. Are y'all thinking about raising money? What are you doing? Because I know you gotta.
I can take that one.
Yep.
We definitely have been thinking about raising money, have been raising money, and are still raising money. So that's been a big process. We've gotten a lot of funding so far from the New Haven Neighborhood Challenge Grant. We also have received money through the Great Give, which has always been excellent. It's a great way for us to reach more donors and just get people involved on any level. As well as the Community Foundation. We have plenty more grants that we're working on, submitting one later today, and we'll be submitting some more later, probably in a few weeks. So that is definitely a part of what we're always doing. And as Chanel said and Jeanette said, we're really all working as a team. Like if somebody can't do something, someone else does it. And so for all these grant applications, we're really all hands on deck and kind of have a process. And it's been good. So yeah.
I will tell you, I think Newhallville has the most community gardens in any neighborhood in the city. Somebody could fact check me on that, but we have a great many community gardens, and they are lovely to see. I don't know about y'all, but I just love seeing these community gardens, and just about every street has one at the end of it or in the middle of it or somewhere. So do you want to see that kind of neighborly collaboration and that kind of neighborly involvement? Because I think there's somebody that has kids working in gardens, and then you have the learning corridor, which is always having things happening. The bike clinic that happens, which is free, and they are there every Saturday morning early. So talk about the things that you already see happening that is really helping to grow Newhallville as a real place that people want to live and raise children and be family and community in.
Babz, when we're talking about that, a big part of what we do, partnerships. We're big on partnerships. So New Haven does have, Newhallville has a lot going on. You brought up the learning corridor, the gardens, and now our order, Brittany, she now does routine cleanups, and then we have other residents that do cleanups on their blocks all the time, Lilac, Star Street, Shepherd. So we want to continue to be partners in that work and letting people know and kind of connecting that, because there are kind of like silos within the community. So there's a lot going on, but then there's sometimes some disconnect. So we kind of want to be a bridge and a partner. So again, you brought the learning corridor. With the Miss Serene does that. Kim does a lot of work with the youth as well, partnering with the Newhallville community management team. which we have already done. So any other organizations that are in the community, we're just looking to partner with them. So how can we do this collectively and to make sure all of our residents are aware of the services? So we want to be that resource hub that ties everything together.
Okay. So how do people find out about what y'all do? How do people get in touch with y'all?
The best way would probably either be our Facebook page or our website. The website is newhallville-ct.com.
Okay.
And then our Facebook page is our name. So Newhallville-NCSDC. And that's where the best way to get in touch with us. And also either any of us privately, if you want to get in touch with us, then we can send you the links if that's easier.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Okay, so Jeanette, what's on tap for the summer? What do you got planned? What are you doing? You're doing some neighborhood stuff? I know there's always festivals in this. You know, I've been in the neighborhood for 4 years now, and I'm not new to the neighborhood. I actually grew up on Newhallville. I mean, a Newhall Street, till I was about 10, and then we moved to Church Street South. But there's always festivals going on in Bassett Park, which I love. The basketball.
Yeah.
Other organizations doing festivals and music and hot dogs and all the things. What else is going on this summer? Do you know?
So, we getting ready for Gary Gates. He usually have the
yeah.
the reunion. That's the biggie. So we probably will have a table there, just giving people information about the corporation and so forth. And Gary and I have been talking about how do we collaborate with him, because he does that so well. And I mean, there's so many people out there that you haven't seen in years, and but they commit to being there, and the young people, and then you have everybody challenging each other for the who wants to be on the high tournament, and stuff. So it's good because it's always a great connection of everyone coming together during that time frame. And he takes the whole August. I think those are great things. I like to be there. We have lots of stuff at the Learning Court as well. I mean, a couple of years, I did a whole community jazz festival and music and everything. Everybody just brought their cheers, and we just had a nice time of dealing with. We had gospel opera. We had, the violinists came out, and so we wanted to showcase all of our artist talents. And so we did it all summer. And so Doreen and I are going to connect back with that as well. But also with the corporation, she already committed to being part of, the collaboration. So as we talk, and I'm always out there, so people can always know who I am and get and talk to me as well. But as we talk to people, what we want them to say is that this is what I can do to keep it going. Because it doesn't just start with the few of us, just like when we did the movement. The movement was just not the ones that was cheering or the beginning part. It was all the people that was supporting in the backdrop, in the back end of it, and everything, and all our residents. And that's what made it, a collaboration. And that's what we want to continue to move forward, and not be energized, because it still needs to be energized. Whereas any developer or anyone coming into the community, it's a process that they need to go through, presenting to the community management team about the ideas, going to the resident, telling the resident about the ideas, and then getting input back into it. If you want to be a good partner, if you want to be a good resident to the community, then you should be doing that as well. So there is a lot of things. We just finished with what was the Arts and Ideas that was at Lincoln Bassett. That was such a great event.
Community festival. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, the community festival. Right. So we have a lot of going, and what we're trying to do is insert in between. So we looked at our calendar and we said June, the end of June would be the best, because we have so much other things going on. That was the reason why we picked June 29th, because we realized that everything else was started in July, and we did not want to be, having the same event on the same day. So that's the importance of having a good calendar for our community.
Well, Saturday, June 29th at 10 a.m. at Albertus Magnus College. I Love Newhallville Symposium is happening. And if you love Newhallville, like you say you do, or you want to get to know Newhallville, go and check out the symposium. It's going to be a wonderful opportunity for you to meet up with neighbors and talk about the future of Newhallville. Thank you all for coming on. Jeanette, it's
Thank
always
you.
good to see you. It's always good to see you, Sophie. Hey, Chanel. And hey,
Hello.
Linda. It was so good to see
Hey.
y'all. I know
So
I'll
good to see you
listen,
too.
I've got a new little library in front of my house at 75 Ivy Street. So walk your children or walk yourselves over and get
Okay.
a book, a little
Okay.
library, free books, and they're all by
All
Black
right.
folks. So
That's
get your little
great.
book and you a book. If you're a reader, there's books for adults, there's books for children, there's books for teenagers. So feel free. And you know, and if you're done reading it, you can bring it back or you could keep it. It makes no difference. Just come and stop by and see it. All right.
All right.
It's
Thank
so
you.
good to see y'all. Yay,
So good to see you
Newhallville.
too, Babz. Yay.
Yes,
Newhallville.
yes.
All right, then y'all have a
Very
good
good.
summer, and I'll see y'all out here in these streets. So I'll see you. I'll see you.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Enjoy your
you.
weekend.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right.
Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Harry.
Mm.